We continue now with more on the story of the Bergdahl-terrorist swap. I happened to tune in to the mainstream media coverage this morning for just a moment, and I heard an anchor reporting new information released from the White House. They said that Bergdahl was physically ill, and that must be why the president had to take the action he had to take. So now, to this reporter, the terrorist being swapped for a traitor makes total sense to them. Of course, isn't this how it always plays out in the lamestream media? Now they seem to be really grasping for any way to excuse this outrageous action by President Obama. But one person who's exposing the truth and not making any excuses for the president is Katie Pavlich, Fox News contributor and townhall.com editor. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Katie, even Senator Dianne Feinstein, chairwoman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is not happy when she was told about the swap. President Obama called to apologize to her after that, and now, Katie, she's calling it an oversight. Is the president losing Democrats over this?
Absolutely. If you take a look at the interview that Senator Dianne Feinstein did about when she found out about this prison swap, she doesn't kind of say that the administration maybe broke the law or that it was a potential that they broke the law. She said, quote, totally broke the law. And so when it comes to, losing Dianne Feinstein on something like this, the administration has a lot of explaining to do, and they have a huge political problem. It is amazing to me that yesterday we heard news that the Obama White House thought that this situation and this announcement of the prison swap would be greeted with euphoria, with open arms, that the military would rally around the administration as a result of getting Bo Bergdahl home. It's like they just didn't think that maybe people would be doing some research about the situation and what actually went on. And it's pretty interesting when you hear Democrats complaining about the president breaking the law. And Jonathan Turley, who is a longtime Democrat and constitutional scholar, was on Sean Hannity's show last night saying, look, this is not something that falls in line with the legal aspects here. So he has a big problem on his hands, and Democrats can't say that Republicans are simply being outraged or political because Democrats are on the same side for once.
One thing that strikes me, Katie, is that the Democrats are always talking about their compassion for the mentally ill. And yet we have a soldier suffering severely from post-traumatic stress disorder sitting in a Mexican prison right now, Sergeant Andrew Tamarici. Now the mainstream media and the president are excusing themselves for all of this, trying to talk away the scandal, if you will, regarding Bergdahl, saying, well, he was physically ill. What about the mental health of Andrew Tamarici? And is this excuse for them sweeping all of this under the rug, is it going to work?
There's no excuse for what they've done, which is ignoring Tamarici being in that Mexican jail where he's being treated worse than our detainees at Gitmo get treated. He's on record saying that he's been treated horribly. He's been chained to his bed. You had some of his friends who have been doing interviews saying he looks like he's lost about 50 pounds. And yet the administration, from a political perspective, thought that this prison exchange with Bergdahl would bode well for them. It's not. What would have boded well is for them to make a phone call to the Mexican government and tell them, let this guy out or there are going to be consequences. But guess why they're not doing that? Because Tamarici had guns in his car, and the Obama administration doesn't like that. So they're not interested in pulling him out because they have a political dispute with him. They instead are more interested in swapping terrorists for a guy who, by all accounts, left his platoon, left his team, and got multiple people not only killed, but severely injured as well.
Katie, have you heard any of the interviews with these families or talked to them yourself, the families who lost people? Now I understand that the official statement from the White House, if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard this just before I came on air today, is that there were no military directly killed while looking for Bergdahl. But I'm wondering if you know anything counter to that, and also what the families are saying about that.
Well, look, the Pentagon and the White House and the administration are never going to admit or confirm a link between deaths and military deaths and looking for Bo Bergdahl. They're just not going to confirm that ever. So people can stop trying to get that confirmation. It's not coming. But when it comes to what his fellow soldiers were saying, the guys who were out on the trail in Afghanistan looking for him after he walked off base, they say absolutely that not only were people killed while they were searching for him, but that the attacks and IED explosions were worse because the Taliban knew there were new assets, more assets in the area looking for Bo Bergdahl, and they knew that they could then launch more attacks. I mean, one of the medics, Josh Corneliuson, said on Fox recently that they had a field day. The Taliban had a field day because they knew how many trucks they had. They knew exactly what was happening. And now there's serious questions about not only, was Bo Bergdahl a deserter, but if he actually helped the Taliban come up with IED routes, which is the number one killer of our troops in Afghanistan, and it's the number one cause of severe injuries like leg amputations, arm amputations in that country for our troops. And so, the administration is never going to admit that looking for this guy caused death or injury, but considering the track record of this White House when it comes to telling us the truth and when it comes to their treatment of the military, I'm going to be taking the side of, we've seen that, 6 or 7 men now come out who are in Bergdahl's unit or on his team saying, look, he walked away, people were killed as a result, and you had the parents of one of the young men who was killed also speaking out saying they're appalled that this man is being brought home as a hero considering their son died looking for him when by all accounts he left. And so it also, I think, shows President Obama's arrogance and misunderstanding of really what the military code means. I mean, deserting your unit is, the second worst offense that you can do when it comes to being in the military. And it's almost like President Obama just doesn't think that's a big deal. And it just shows that he really is either naive or he just doesn't care. But it's a major, major issue that he has no comprehension of.
My background in mental health, I spoke with Lou Dobbs about this last night on his show. I'm starting to see such erratic behavior out of Obama that I'm starting to question his mental stability. That's probably something I'm never supposed to say, but I don't understand how anyone who can think or feel for anyone else could make the decisions that Obama has made. Going back to your issue, Fast and Furious, Benghazi, I mean, the list goes on, Tamarisi, all of the different craziness with his obvious sympathy toward Islam. Are you seeing any of that too? And are people talking about that, or am I way off base here?
I'm not a mental health expert, so like you are, so I can't see it from that perspective necessarily, but I can see it from the perspective of the arrogance of the decision making with this latest example is worse than I ever thought it could be. I mean, the idea that they thought this was a good idea and that they thought that there would be no problem with him walking off base and that everyone would kind of just move on from that because he just left and it's not a big deal that he deserted. It's not just like quitting a job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not like walking out on a basic job. It's the second worst thing that you can possibly do. And just the idea that they thought that the military, for God's sake, would be rallying around this. I mean, I just don't understand where it's coming from. I know that narcissism can reach ridiculous levels and have some, kind of form of mental health issues, and that's, I don't know, but just based on the behavior of not thinking that this would be a problem, and not only not thinking it wouldn't be a problem, that people would react in a very positive way, it is really just astounding. It's almost like I don't have words to describe how baffling it is.
Yeah, that's precisely why I think it goes way beyond arrogance to something that just isn't adding up anymore. Like, it's not even making sense. Even if you hate America, some of the decisions that this administration is making seem to me to be literally off kilter. So I think it's something that we need to talk about perhaps. But Katie, I do appreciate you being with us. Tell us where all we can find you and, of course, your book.
I am at townhall.com most days. You can find me on Twitter at Katie Pavlich, and the book is on Amazon. And congratulations to you on your next book, too, as well.
No, thank you so much. It just reached 39 in pre-sales today on Amazon, so number 39. So
Awesome.
we're off the charts
Love
excited.
the cover. You guys all look great.
Oh, thanks so much, Katie. And thank you for being with us. Thanks for all the hard work you do and for staying in the fight with me, because it gets lonely on this side sometimes.
It does. We got to stick together.
Absolutely. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.